I just finished building my 533 Tiny Trainer with HDZero. Okay, well, I haven't quite finished building it. But before I finish putting it together, I'm going to do the software setup, and that's what this video is about. If that's what you're here for, stick around. But if you want to watch me build this, then there's a link down in the video description, and you can go check out that video first. And the first thing I think I'm going to do is update the firmware on the flight controller. So I'm going to fire up Betaflight Configurator. I am running Betaflight Configurator 10.8. If you need instructions for how to download Betaflight Configurator, get it installed on your computer, and a more beginner-focused walkthrough of what the heck I'm doing here, because I'm going to go a little bit faster than if you were just a rank beginner, I've got a link in the video description to my Betaflight tutorial videos that are a little bit more beginner-focused. But we're going to go to Firmware Flasher. I guess I should take my own advice before I flash, and I should back up the configuration of the flight controller by going to the Presets tab and hitting Save Backup. Even though there's really no configuration on this flight controller at all, it's still a good idea to back up the configuration because, like, sometimes you may want to get the manufacturer defaults back. So let's make a good habit there and back up the configuration. Then we'll go to Firmware Flasher. We will auto detect. I'll just sanity check this because sometimes auto detect doesn't work right, but Beta FPV F405 does seem like it's correct for this build. We are going to flash Betaflight 430, and today we are at build RC6, release candidate 6. We get that by enabling show unstable releases and enable expert mode. It's a little bit risky to flash a release candidate because sometimes they can have bugs, but we're going to live dangerously today. We're going to load that firmware and flash that firmware. Again, at this point, if anything goes wrong, if it doesn't flash, I've got more discussion about that in the tutorial video linked in the video description, the more beginner focused one. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and connect. I will apply custom defaults as always the first time you connect to the flight controller after flashing, and we'll go ahead and take care of the stuff listed in that warning as well. In the setup, we will calibrate the accelerometer while holding the quad flat on the table. Not going to be flying this quad in auto level mode, but still calibrate the accelerometer. And the very first thing I like to do with any new build is get the receiver working. So we're going to go to the Ports tab. And I'll just remind myself by glancing down at the flight controller that we used UART1 for the receiver. So we'll enable Serial RX on UART1. And I'll go to the Receiver tab. I am using a Crossfire receiver. So I'm going to, or Express LRS receiver. But for Express LRS receivers, you set the serial receiver provider to Crossfire because that's the protocol that Express LRS uses to talk to the flight controller. And we will save that. And the next thing I need to do is bind my Express LRS receiver to my Express LRS module in my radio. I've got another video, a tutorial that I made all about binding Express LRS. That video is going to be out by the time you see this. There's a link in the video description. If you're using Express LRS, you can follow that video. But I know some people are not going to be using Express LRS, so I will put links in the video description to my other videos about how to set up and bind Crossfire, how to set up and bind Immersion RC Ghost, and I'm not even sure I've got one about how to set up and bind FreeSky. It's pretty simple, but I've got those tutorials down in the video description below, and we're not going to go through that here because not everybody's going to be using the same receiver as me. If you are using Express LRS, I would like to tell you that my favorite Express LRS module is the Happy Model Express LRS Pro, or if you're using a radio with a light form factor like the Jumper T-Lite or the Radiomaster Zorro, you could use the slim version of that same module. The hardware build quality on these has been very good and very consistently good, and they go up to 1 watt output power, which gives you a little bit of extra range if you feel like you're going to need it. They don't have a screen on the back, which may be a drawback to some people. If you're looking for one with a screen on the back, I think the best one is the Axis Flying Thor, which is a little bit more expensive, but it's come down. It used to be like $130. Now it's down to like $80 and is also a very, very good module. We'll go ahead and put this one in. For this flight controller, I am going to need to plug in a battery to power up the receiver, and I'm going to double check that my HDZero is connected to its antenna or it's going to be damaged. Okay. There we go. Looks good. I notice that I've got connection here. I see T-Power has come in and I see my link quality and so forth have come in, but I don't have RxBat. That tells me that telemetry is not working, so let's fix that. We're going to go to the configuration tab. We're going to scroll down and we're going to enable telemetry, and I hope that fixes that. There we go. Came in. Perfect. If you are interested in setting up your screen like mine with widgets and so forth that give you all this useful information, I've got a video about how to do that, and I'll put a link down in the video description. Alrighty. So now the receiver is working, or at least it's bound. Let's check in the receiver tab to see if my channels are responding, and they are. And my channel map is correct. Throttle is throttle, yaw is yaw, roll is roll, pitch is pitch. Wow, look at the rates. This 3D model here shows what your rates are doing. They are super low. We'll check on that in a minute. And I see my endpoints are correct, 1000 to 2000 for all my channels. If you need a tutorial about how to set up endpoints and channel mapping, guess where that is? Down in the video description. The next change I like to make is to change the stick low threshold. When your endpoints are correct, 1000 to 2000, you can change the stick low threshold to be a little higher than 1000, like 1010. It needs to be a little bit higher, so don't set it to 1000, but that'll get rid of a little bit of deadband at the bottom of your throttle. And maximize your throttle resolution. And we can do the same for the stick high threshold, although for various reasons it doesn't actually have much effect on your experience of flying. Just like them to be symmetrical because of my OCD. The next thing we're going to do is run the Express LRS Lua script, and we're going to look at our packet rate. And we can see here our packet rate is 250 hertz. And for racing, you probably want a high packet rate because range is not as much of a concern, but low latency and smooth controls is a concern. I actually run 250 hertz on most everything. And with that 1 watt output power of the Happy Model module, I have plenty of range, probably more than I need. Knowing that that is 250 hertz. And the next thing I'm going to do is go to the Betaflight presets tab. And you're going to do this whether using Express LRS or any other control link. With Betaflight 4.3, you do this every new build. You go into the presets tab and you choose the RC link category, and you find your RC link there. So in my case, I'm going to search for, let's just search for Express LRS. And we've got an RC link here for Express LRS 250 hertz. So I'm going to pick that. And then here in the list of options, I'm going to choose the fine tuning. Oh, look at all this cool stuff. Let's choose racing for the smoothing. ELRS RX connection is serial. Voltage telemetry readings, I like to read out single cell values. That's interesting that they're putting this in the link preset, but it's still, I do like to do this on all my builds, have it read out the average cell voltage instead of the whole pack value. And we do not need cinematic rates. So let's just show the CLI. Yes, I do this on all my builds anyway. It's weird that they put that in there in the link preset, but that's fine. I'll do it, and we'll hit pick, and then we will save and reboot. Next, I'm going to switch to my own preset source, the JB private repo. And if you want to connect to this, it's public, and you can. Here is the URL right here, and here is the GitHub branch. Just enter this stuff exactly as you see here, and well, you just hit add new source and add it. I'm going to make it active, and what I'm going to see there is my JB racing rates, which are basically just 533 rates. So of course you're flying a 533 Tiny Trainer. Of course you should use 533 rates, but I like to have 0.4 expo on mine because I need a little more center stick sensitivity because I don't have quite the twitch reflexes of somebody like Evan. And I'm going to add my all modes 1 channel aux configuration to set up my aux modes. And I'm going to set up my OSD, my on-screen display, for analog and SharkBite. I don't know if NTSC or PAL makes a difference, but we'll just hit NTSC here, and we'll pick that and save and reboot. Now at this point, we've done probably 75% of the quad setup just using the presets tab. It really speaks to the power of the presets tab. And again, if you need a tutorial about that stuff, there's a link down in the video description to my Betaflight 4.3 playlist where I go through, well, everything in Betaflight 4.3. It's a bit much for some people, but it's as much as you could possibly want. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to go through here and find some other little options that I think I want to tweak. One is I'm going to change the craft name to JB. I like to put the craft name in there and I put it on screen. We're going to change the maximum arm angle to 180, which lets you arm even if the quad is not perfectly straight up and down. We're going to enable D-Shot beacon configuration, which makes the motors beep because we don't have a beeper on this quad, so we want the motors to beep if we like crash the quad and lose it in the grass or something. And that is going to do it, I think, for this page. Next, we're going to get the motors set up correctly, and Betaflight 4.3 is going to make this easier than it has ever been. And we're going to start with the reorder motors option. This shouldn't be necessary because the flight controller is installed the right way around, but it's good to just sanity check it. I'm going to say I understand the risk, propellers are removed, and we are going to start, and I'm going to click on the spinning motor. Next, we're going to do motor direction, and you will have to do this because all these motors are wired the same. As far as I can tell, there's no like left-hand or right-hand motors, clockwise or counterclockwise. But again, this is going to be super simple. We'll just hit motor direction. I understand the risk, and let's see, we'll just run the wizard. We'll spin the motors, and we'll check the motor direction. And I think the simplest way to do that is just to approach the motor from one side and see which way the quad moves. So let's see, this is motor number 3, should be clockwise. It is not. So motor number 3 needs to reverse. There we go. Motor number 3 is taken care of. Motor number 4 is correct. Motor number 1 is correct. And motor number 2, I bet we have to reverse. Yes, motor number 2 is going the wrong way. Now, motor number 2 is going the right way. Great. That's done. Next, we're going to fire up this screen, which is connected to my HDZero receiver on my Fat Shark goggles. One of the nice things about the SharkBite system is you get a nice HDMI output, and we feed it right in this screen, and we can see, yay, we're getting video, but we are not getting OSD. So let's get the SharkBite OSD working. And the first thing we need to do is go to the ports tab. The HDZero video transmitter is connected to UART4, so we need to enable MSP on UART4, and then we need to go to the CLI, and we're going to type set DisplayPort _ MSP _ serial, set DisplayPort MSP serial equals, and we're going to put in one less than the UART number that we're using. So we're using UART4, we're going to put 3. And we're going to set OSD's DisplayPort device equals MSP. And those are the 2 steps you need to do to get that working. And my my HDZero video transmitter is overheating. Let's see if we can fix that. I got this little neck-mounted fan that a friend gave me. And he says it's also good for keeping your video transmitters cool. Let's see how well it works. Oh, hey, that's fantastic. We have a working on-screen display. Isn't it nice that that went so smoothly? One thing I do notice is, though, I chose NTSC and I should have chosen PAL. And that's why these things are at the top of my screen. What I need to do is, oh, it's not here. I've seen this before. Hang on. It's VCD video system. That's my preset that's messed up. That needs to be set to auto. My preset sets it to NTSC. I should leave it at auto. That's my bad. On some HDZero video transmitters, there would be a smart audio wire, and you would go to the video transmitter tab and set up smart audio. This video transmitter doesn't have that, and so we are going to be using the HDZero menu, which you access by pushing down and in on the sticks. If you want more information about setting up HDZero systems, including other video transmitters than the one I've got a full HDZero setup tutorial, and this linked where else down in the video description. Now, there is a PID tune for the Tiny Trainer on the FPV Crate website, but there's 2 reasons why I'm not going to use it. First, kind of annoying that it's not got carriage returns. That's not very useful. But number 2, I bet that's a Betaflight 4.2 PID tune, and we're using Betaflight 4.3. Instead, I got to wonder if I go to the Presets tab, and I'm going to go Preset Sources and go back to the Betaflight official presets, and I'm going to search in the Tune category, and I'm going to search for 533 Tiny Trainer Karate Tune. Boom, here is a Tiny Trainer tune. D-Shot 600, dynamic idle, that's fine. You have to use RPM filtering. I am. I will make sure of that, but sounds good. All good. I think we're going to go with this. We're going to pick and agree. And save and reboot. The presets tab. The power of the presets tab. Let's just double check. We'll go to the motors tab. Yes, bidirectional D-shot is on. The number of motor poles is correct, 12 poles. I bet the preset did that. That's all fine. Let's just double check our motor error percent by plugging in a battery. 0% error is fantastic. That's good to see. Seems good. I think we're done. Failsafe, nothing to do with failsafe. Defaults are fine. Power and battery, voltage scale and voltage seems correct. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. I think it's time to finish putting this together and take it out for a whirl and find out what we missed in the configuration. Next, we're going to button this little guy up, finish putting it all together, and I can't help but notice maybe there's a better way to turn this. I'm just trying to keep the wiring neat, but more importantly, try to keep pressure off the UFL connector. This VTX doesn't have a restraint on the UFL connector to keep it from popping off if it's under tension. So I think this is going to be the best way to do it. All right, the stack is rebuilt and assembled. And then I think we just put this on, right? Is that it? Yeah, it looks like we've got some screws. Maybe it's these screws. Seems promising. They're kind of long. I guess they'll make it stronger. Are they too long? Will they go all the way in? Oh no, they go all the way in. Well, I guess that's the right ones. And then don't forget in the rear we've got this 3D printed piece, which is going to be used for the flip stick. It's just a little piece of plastic that sticks up and helps you flip it over if you go down in the grass. It helps you turtle mode, keeps your motors out of the grass. The last thing we got to do is tie down these arms. You can use zip ties. They include some zip ties with the build, but I'm going to enjoy annoying everyone by ruining this build with ugly red electrical tape. There she is. Let's just give her a little check on the bench now that she's completely put together. Okay, and RxBat, we're gonna get battery voltage. There we go. This is Express ELRS. I put the wrong aux modes on this. Good. Only thing left to do is put the props on and go fly it. There is a little quirk with the 533 Tiny Trainer motors. The props don't go on necessarily how you might expect. The props are standard T-mount props, but they've made the holes for the shaft a little bit small so that they can friction fit on. So you just sort of twist and press them on. You don't need to put the T-mount screws on, and that lets you change them faster in a race. I have noticed that like sometimes if you crash and the prop comes off, when you put it back on again, it won't have enough friction. And you can either change the prop or you can put screws in. It's up to you, but most of the pros don't use screws. Well, the only thing left to do is take this guy out and fly it. And I'm actually really curious to see how it flies compared to this analog version that I built some time back. Definitely make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that when I make the video. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to make it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Also, if you're looking for an idea of why people love this dang thing so freaking much, I've got a review of it, and I'll put a card on screen. I think you should definitely check it out. Thanks for watching. Happy flying.